Hari Om. Dear friends, today I will talk about some of the properties of Brahman. So, what is Brahman or who is Brahman? No human can ever answer this question perfectly, as the concept of Brahman is something which is much beyond the human intellect. Although it is impossible to define Brahman in words, the wise portray him as the singular eternal consciousness principle, which lends sentiency to every living being, and which lends existence to every non-living thing in this universe. In other words, he is the only entity in the universe which is permanent and which has an independent existence. In Vedanta, Brahman is often known as Nirguna Brahman, or the one with no attributes. So it may sound somewhat contradictory to this statement when we say we will learn about the properties of Brahman. As we know, the concept of Brahman is extremely subtle. One way to explain this contradiction is that while Brahman is indeed Nirguna, when we talk about the properties of Brahman, we're only talking about some adjectives which help us to get a better understanding of his true nature. In verses 9.4 to 9.10 of the Bhagavad Gita, 6 of these properties are described. Let's try to understand these today. Sarvagataha. The first characteristic is Sarvagataha. Sarvagataha means all pervading, that which doesn't have boundaries, that which is present everywhere and at all times. Brahman pervades in and through the entire universe. Adharatvam. Adharatvam, which is usually Sarva Adharatvam, means the one which supports everything else. Brahman is the supporting principle for the entire universe. In Vishnu Sahasranama, one of the words used to describe Vishnu is Vishwadharam, which also means the same. Asangatvam. Asangatvam means remaining unaffected. Although Brahman pervades the entire universe, he remains unaffected by the objects within it. The best example to understand this is space. Just as space is unaffected by everything that exists within it and remains to exist no matter what we put into it or take out of it, similarly, Brahman is unaffected by the events and changes happening in the universe, and he has a permanent existence. Akartatvam. Akartatvam means not having a sense of doership. What this means that Brahman by himself doesn't involve in any action, good or bad. He only provides the support for the actions to be performed. This is somewhat similar to the way in which electricity itself doesn't perform any action, but enables the gadgets like fans, lights, televisions, etc. to perform their functions. Since Brahman is not directly involved with the action, he is also abhokta, that is, he is free from the results of the action as well. Earlier, we have seen that the Lord is the creator of the universe, as well as the karma phaladata. These are also actions and they are done by the Lord himself. And why do we say that he is akarta? This is because he performs these actions with an udasina or an indifferent attitude without any attachment to the results. This is how he becomes akarta and abhokta. Arupam. Arupa means nirakara or formless. Brahman doesn't have any form. Krishna says that it is indeed difficult for devotees to worship the formless Brahman, especially in the initial stages of a spiritual journey. Krishna says that it is difficult for the embodied to comprehend the formless. Hence, in verse 7.21, Krishna says that in whatever celestial form a devotee seeks to worship him with faith, he will steady the faith of such a devotee in that form. This means we can worship Brahman in the form of any of our favorite gods like Krishna, Rama, Hanuman or goddess Saraswati. Ajam. Ajam means birthless. Unlike ordinary humans, Brahman has no birth or death. He is permanent. Hence, we may get a question that Krishna himself was born to Devaki. He died many years after the Kurukshetra war. So why do we call him Ajam? We can understand this when we recall the fact that Krishna is no ordinary human. He was an avatara. He was a manifestation of Brahman. He had come for a specific purpose and left once that was accomplished. His physical body too was different from the physical body of ordinary humans. So while Krishna as an avatara had a beginning and an end, the eternal Brahman is birthless. Hari Om. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. What